I just want to bring you what happened in Northern Ireland, and I want to tell you what it is you're facing here, because most people here probably aren't aware of what's happening in your drinking water. And I want to start off by describing an industrial accident that took place in America. There was a truck, you know, like one of those trucks you get your oil delivered in, and it was delivering an acid, the most corrosive acid on earth. It's called hydrofluorosilicic acid. And it was delivering it from Florida to North Carolina. And the acid is so corrosive, it can eat through concrete, it can dissolve concrete in seconds, it can eat through stainless steel, it can eat through fiberglass. The only thing that can contain it is epoxy plastics. So the inside of the truck has to be lined with epoxy plastic. Now, there was a pinhole in the lining of the truck that nobody knew about. And so before this truck actually left the state of Florida, the acid ate through the half-inch steel plating of the truck. It dribbled down, and it dissolved the axle of the truck and the tires, the 4 tires off the back of the truck. And it split open, and the acid poured all over the highway. And it became a national disaster a state disaster for Florida. And they were forced to close the road for 2 weeks, an interstate for 2 weeks. And they had to evacuate 2,000 homes around that truck within a half mile of the truck. Because if that acid had have become airborne, had have evaporated, it would have killed everybody. It's not poisonous, right? It's so poisonous that it's almost should be banned. That's what I think. But anyway, let me get on with it. The truck turned over. The acid spilled. The first 40 workers who got there, the police and the firemen, all had to be taken to hospital because for ventilating problems and skin rashes and burns. Now, that acid was on its way to a water treatment plant. The cars that passed through that acid all had to be decontaminated by men in spacesuits who had to wash down everybody's car with chemicals to try and stop it from eating the cars, right? This is hydrofluorosilicic acid. It's the toxic waste of the fertilizer industry and the aluminium industry. Now, the reason I'm telling you about this is because, believe it or not, this same chemical is being added to your water supply. It's being dripped into your water supply in the Republic of Ireland. Now, the reason they're doing this is because there's a bunch of contaminants in this acid. One of them is fluoride. The others are mercury, uranium, there's lead, arsenic, there's chromium, there's antimony, there's all kinds of toxic stuff in there. And one of the biggest contaminants is fluoride. So your government has been actually adding this to your water supply for years now, dripping it in small quantities. So you're getting the toxic waste of another country. Your stuff actually, as far as I know, from what I've been told, comes from Spain. So you're actually eating the toxic waste from Spain's fertilizer industry. And it's being dripped into your water supply. Now, in Northern Ireland, this was brought to all the councils in Northern Ireland years ago, and we were asked to vote on whether we wanted to be putting fluoride in our water supply. And so a campaign was started. We were given 3 months to decide. It was called a 3-month consultation period. And during that 3 months, I got active myself personally, and with a small group of people, I went around, and so did a few others. We went to all the councils in Northern Ireland on the same night as the dentists and the doctors and the government showed up. And we gave just our opinions to try and stop this. And at the end of the 3 months, we had 25 out of 26 councils in Northern Ireland vote against this. We had the 4 area health and social services councils vote against this. We had NHF, the large civil servants union, vote against this. We had the 2 farmers' unions vote against this. We had the Angling Federation of Ireland vote against this. We had the Vegetarian Society against this. We had Queen's Students' Union against this. We had Shorts, the big aerodynamic space industry. They threatened to pull out of Northern Ireland if the water was fluoridated. Now, we had all that opposition, and all the councillors agreed to oppose this. And they opposed it for a number of very basic reasons, and I'm just going to give them to you now. The first one is that nobody has the right to drug you against your will. It's a basic freedom of choice to decide what drug goes into your body. Nobody has the right to tell you, you have to take this. And yet that's what's been being done here in the Republic of Ireland for 45 years. It originally was being put in as sodium fluoride, and now they're using the same hydrofluorosilicic acid I'm telling you about instead. So you're getting something that's actually much more toxic than even the sodium fluoride was. But it's in very small amounts. And it's not the one glass of water that causes you any harm, any more than it's the one cigarette that gives you lung cancer. Rather, it's the small doses over a lifetime that build up in you and cause damage later in life. So I'll just give you the reasons. So the first one was that it's a breach of freedom of choice. It's a breach of your human rights as well. The second thing is that 98% of Europe have refused to do this, right? They've rejected it. It's either been rejected or in some countries it's actually been banned. For example, Holland rewrote its constitution after it had fluoride for a number of years, and a bunch of doctors fought to get it out. And when they finally got it out, the constitution was rewritten of Holland never to have this happen again. So in Europe, 98% of Europe have rejected it. Out of the 2%, you're almost all of it. The only other place that's doing this is 10% of England. And the Basques in Spain, they're also getting this. Beyond that, it's you. Most of Europe have rejected this completely. And one of the countries that last took it out was Switzerland. They were doing it in one city in Switzerland for 35 years. And then they found that that city had the highest cancer rate. They also found that it had the highest dental decay rate, which is the whole point of putting this in. The government says that if they put this in, it's going to reduce dental caries. Well, you know, I got to point out to you that dental caries is not a life-threatening disease. You know, if you lose all your teeth, you get dentures and life goes on. But you know, cancer, that's kind of much worse. And you know, there's a large number of studies showing that this causes cancer. And it shows that it causes irritable bowel syndrome. There's a large number of studies, in fact there's thousands, that shows it causes thyroid dysfunction, that it causes bone problems such as osteoporosis and arthritis. And that it also causes dental damage, believe it or not, called dental fluorosis, which is a condition that a large number of your children now have. So you can take the choice between having dental caries, a few extra cavities, or having cancer and irritable bowel syndrome and osteoporosis. That's really the choice here. For me, that's not a choice at all. And in Northern Ireland, we got active and we brought this to a stop. One of the other things that convinced most people to vote against this was that nobody in Northern Ireland could understand how, if you're taking this through the mouth and you're drinking the fluoride, it's passing your teeth at 100 miles an hour, right? How does it find its way back to the teeth only? Yet they tell you that it's making hard teeth. Well, maybe that's true. But since your teeth are the only visible part of your skeleton, is it possible that it may also be making hard bones? Yes, of course it is. And there's over 13 international published peer-reviewed studies showing that fluoride causes increases in osteoporosis in fluoridated areas. So you've now got osteoporosis. You've got, as far as I know, you've got the highest osteoporosis rate in Europe, but I'm not sure if that's true. But that's what I read in the Irish Times at one point. And I know that 50% of women over 50 in the Irish Republic, according to the Irish Times, an article I read, are going to get osteoporosis. 50% of women over 50 are going to get osteoporosis here in the Republic. That's shocking to me. But I think when you put in industrial waste products that affect teeth, you're also going to see bone changes happening as well. Now, the other reason that they oppose this, and this is really the main reason I think that everybody opposed this, is that fluoride doesn't make any sense at all. Adding fluoride to the water makes 0 sense. For example, you're putting this in the water supply, and you want me to drink this for the rest of my life, for a condition I may not even have, right? Why? Because there's this small group of children somewhere who don't brush their teeth, who eat sweeties all the time, and do nothing but drink fizzy drinks? Well, if they're drinking fizzy drinks all the time, they're not drinking the water supply. So what's the point in putting it in for them? Now, take a look at this logically, right? You're putting fluoride in 100% of the water. Now, I wish I could put this microphone down. So from this hand to this hand, 100% of the water is now got fluoride in it. Your DOE, or your government agency that controls the water system, they admit that they lose 40% of the water in underground leaks before you even get it. That's 40% of the fluoride that your tax money paid for, gone, out in the environment, right? So 40% of your tax money just went out in the environment for nothing. Out of the 60% of the water that's left with the fluoride in it that you paid for, industry uses 7/8 of the water supply. And I'm including farming and all kinds of other industries in there, but industry uses 7/8 of the water supply. So there's 7/8 of the fluoride of the 60% that's left is now gone into industry. Out of the 1/8 that's left that comes into your house, you drink less than 1% of what comes into your house. Because you use it for watering the lawn, washing your clothes. You use it for flushing the toilet. So, but you're not drinking it. So out of the 1% of the 1/8 that's left, you're drinking less than 1% of 1/8. Now, who's the target audience? How many people in the population, the children who have the really bad tooth problem, how many of them are there in proportion of the population? They're about 3% of the population. So you've got 3% of the population drinking 3% of 1% of 1/8 of 60% of all the water you bothered to fluoridate. Does this sound like a logical way to deliver a drug to a small target audience who don't drink the water supply? Now, there's nothing about water fluoridation that makes sense. Absolutely nothing. And you can't point to me and make it make sense. And as for it being about dental caries, it has very little to do with dental caries. But one thing the government does admit that fluoride does in the water system, they do admit that it causes a dental disfigurement called dental fluorosis. And your government actually went on a television program in Northern Ireland that appeared, the Spotlight program, and they admitted that 50% of the population in any fluoridated area now will have dental fluorosis caused by fluoride poisoning. It's the only substance on earth that can cause this damage. I brought a picture of the damage. I don't know if you can see it. There's too big an audience here. But I'll just hold it up, because I used to hold it up in the councils. Okay, these are teeth. These are children in Navan, here in the south of Ireland. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Can you see it? Okay. These are children in Navan in a dental practice. So these are in the Republic of Ireland. These are just children, local here. And they have dental fluorosis. And the ones on the end here, what they are is they're mild dental fluorosis down at that end. And these are moderate. It gets much worse than this. There's severe, which isn't even on here, which it would make you run out of the hall screaming. And what it does is fluoride actually takes the calcium, bonds with the calcium, and prevents the teeth from being able to use it. And so you end up getting harder teeth because you've taken calcium out.